apparently, Trump is being interviewed by a man with a shellfish allergy that no one told him about inside a birthday cake. I'm kidding. It's one of these, I think it's this Christian show, whatever. No, it's Just the News, verified on Rumble, serious business. And they interviewed Trump in this place. Now, for those of you that made it through the Trump rally that we did, because I did that late last night, woof. Was that boring and tired and kind of rambly and all over the place. And he started he does that thing where he does the thing, whatever it is, the interview, the thing. And then he halfway through starts back at the top. Like somebody, like you're listening to a vinyl record and it's almost to the end of the first side and somebody goes like that. And then it just needle drops and then somebody scrambles and they're like, ah, fuck. And they start batting the needle trying to get it closer to the end. And it's just like, just playing pieces of little, chunks of little songs that you like. I've heard these before. It's just aggravating. Anyway, so this is John Solomon. No, this is, hold on. Yes, that's John Solomon and Amanda Head sitting down with the 45th president of the, I'm familiar with, I know this guy worked in government at some point, but I'm not quite sure when, for an exclusive interview on Just the News, Not Noise is the name of this. It's Signal, Not Noise, except they got sued by Steve Bannon. Why do I have a bad hair day? I got down hair day. I think it's pretty solid. I had to put some anti-frizz in stuff in it because it was getting carried away. So, all right. I'm going to a thing tonight. I got to have my hair down for that. You know what I mean? What? Simmer down. Hello, by the way. Welcome to Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Hey, boy. Where I break down the entire clip. That's right. Whatever somebody posts, I'm doing the whole thing. I'm not taking little snippets out and going, look at this crazy thing. For two reasons. One is, I don't want to be told by people that I'm clipping stuff out of context and therefore not being fair to the person there. So they whine on all these right-wing talk shows that people just take one little thing and then they blow it out of proportion. The other thing is that somehow, by some people singling in on the one fuck up or the one exaggerated claim or the one over the top statement, that somehow psychologically, I don't know why, people have a tendency to think that everything else about it was fine. That's probably the craziest thing about the Trump rallies. When people picks a moment out of the Trump rallies and they're like, look at this crazy piece of shit saying this crazy piece of shit. And then the rest of it, they're like, but I guess the rest of it went swimmingly. No, it's all a mess. The interesting thing about the Trump rallies is that they are increasingly in between bouts of nonsense where he's spewing hateful bullshit and throwing in swear words just to kind of get some street cred. Oh, the fucking noobs. It's really boring. What's Hal pissed about now? Oh, I'm just getting started. So turn up your audio, settle in. Let's get going. I'm very excited about this. Let me move over, get out of this dipshit's way. And, yeah, throw in some glitter. That's right. So, all right, we might get salty in this interview, but we'll see. Hold on. But, yeah, so this is the interview. I'm curious if this is a desperation interview that he does when he gets bad news. He does that a lot. Whenever shit hits the fan, he jumps out and tries to stir up some news so that'll distract people. Or this is just I got to sell my book, or all this fine cake decorating work will be taken from me.
Trump, America's 45th president. We're going to talk about all of the issues of the day and the emergence of the Trump doctrine. I know a lot of people want that doctrine back in the White House. Sir, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. The emergence of the Trump doctrine? Are we going to see it today? Is that what's on that paper? Also, there's a bottle of water, just rando sitting there. He's got a couple of flags in case he needs to, get up and rub his dick on it in the middle of it. And then this lady is just like, have you thought about a timeshare? Okay.
Much, Jim.
I want to start with something that I know we saw all through your presidency, the media's treatment of you. It doesn't matter what the facts are. There seems to always
That's right. Start with the boo-hoo-ness.
negative headline, even if it's contrived. How do you deal with that personally, and how do you want to deal with it professionally?
Well, they're fake, and they're crooked, and they're corrupt, and it's a horrible thing, and people didn't know it to anywhere near the extent before me, and now they know it.
Yeah, nobody knew how fake the news was until they looked at my criminal activity and started calling it out. It's weird that they never treated other presidents like this, except maybe Nixon, and he resigned.
The public understands it.
Well, I think with the public, by the way, victim mentality, anyone?
They lie, they cheat. I've never seen anything like it. I never knew it was that corrupt. I knew it was...
Motherfucker, you used to call them pretending to be your own publicist. I never knew. You lied your way onto the Forbes 500. What do you mean you never knew it was... You hired Michael Cohen to hide shit stories. David Pecker, the guy who ran the Inquirer, was one of your keep your enemies closer dudes. Yes, John Barron. He named his fucking kid after the fake person he used to pretend to be, going, Trump, totally rich. Totally rich. Thank you for telling the truth in the news. And by the way, at the peak of fucking broke, he was doing this.
Fake stuff going on.
Yeah.
But since I got into politics, I had a lot of media before, with The Apprentice and all the things I've done and the business. But I've never seen anything like it. You cannot think.
It's weird how public figures that are actually in control of the lives of people are under more scrutiny than second generation rich assholes who are just, doing baseline stuff like fucking up their dad's company. It's weird that why would the media want to crawl up your ass when you're the president of the United States of America? I had no idea.
Not write a good story. I have great poll numbers. They don't put them out. I have great things happening. Like just the other day, we had a fantastic rally in Georgia.
Yeah, why don't they? I had a great thing happen, where I went and talked to the same fucking people about the same shit that I've been saying for over a year and hasn't changed dick. And they won't even, they mentioned it, but they don't air it on all the networks.
From, I think it's NPR or something. I never heard of the person. Said, oh, the rally wasn't well attended. The sheriff just said it was 25,000 people. He said it was a couple of thousand people or less than 5,000 people.
No, they said it was about that number. It's just saying you cordoned off, for a way bigger size. And compared to the other ones, it's 25,000, especially since it's a lot of free repeaters. Boo, 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 boo.
Less than 5,000 people. And we had 5,000 people in the first few rows. I think you were there. Your people, your cameramen are just...
No.
Yeah.
Sir, that rally was packed.
It was.
And we had 25, maybe 35,000 people.
What? Yeah. Add another 10. If the sheriff says 25, he's probably a Democrat. I don't even really know the guy who used to get me coffee. It's probably 35, 40,000 by this time. 65,000 people showing up is nothing to sneeze at when you got 70,000 people right in front of you. You're standing there going, I don't want to brag, but I think this is 80,000. Like, get the fuck out of here.
And then other people pick it up. Oh, the Trump rally. These rallies, you can't even get into them. The people get this.
Yes, you can. They're free.
And I have to put up with this. I had the Washington Post write a story that a rally I was giving in an arena, that the arena was empty. It was a man that you know very well in the Washington Post, and it was empty about 10 hours before. He was sitting.
Oh, that wasn't a rally, by the way. That was the Bill O'Reilly stuff, I think. Rally, O'Reilly. He's old. Yes, we just watched Donald Trump confuse the word rally and O'Reilly.
and he showed an empty, thousands of people outside waiting to get in. And then they came, and he had to do an apology, actually, because the arena was packed. And you know who went after him? The people in the arena, because they saw that it was an empty arena, and you couldn't, I mean, they used the steps as seats. It was thousands and thousands of people, far more than an NBA game. His name was Weigel or Weigel for the Washington Post, and he had to.
It's Seagull. It's Weigel. It was Steven Seagal. You do realize like tickets to an NBA game are like $100 minimum.
Apology. It was fake news. And they do it all the time. They did it with my inauguration. They take pictures hours and hours before the inauguration.
Bullshit. I was there. My girlfriend and her son and I were all there. He was going through a phase. And it was exactly what you saw from the fucking sky. The whole time we were there. Big empty ground, right? We were like, 3 sections back. You know, that like we were in the sparse part and we could still see.
Starts. And then they talk about the crowd. We had a massive crowd. And if you see the late pictures when I was speaking, but they don't show those pictures.
No, they don't.
We have such a corrupt.
By the way, this is about accomplishments. Sorry, but like, Joel Osteen fills his fucking megachurch every goddamn weekend. And people contribute right there. I mean, I don't know. Does he charge a ticket price? I wouldn't put it past him. There are lots of bands that perform to crowds that size, and people are paying like $1,000 to sit down front. Calm yourself. You are not achieving anything. And it's the same fucking people, and it's dwindling.
But this rally in Georgia was a tremendous hit in actually bad weather. You know, we had weather that was very cold, and it was cold in South Carolina. That was another great one. But these are cold rallies right now, and the people are showing up by the tens of thousands. In Texas, we had 87,000 people. Right. In Alabama, where Mo Brooks blew it, by the way, Mo Brooks, there's another story. So he has a 53-point lead after
at least we're staying on point. Thank God he's finally gotten past the crowd size. I mean, it's a good bailout point because he was just about to have to admit that the crowd size in Alabama was smaller and then Georgia was even smaller. So what you're telling me is the states that you won big, you have big crowds in, and the states where you won, a little less, but you definitely won slightly smaller. And then in states where it was basically a split, you got the same assholes caravanning to see you. You're doing a fish show.
Endorse him. Nothing before I endorsed him. He's got a 53-point lead. And then he goes out and starts talking about, let's get on to the future. Let's not talk about the 2020 election fraud anymore, which you cover better than anybody. He loses his entire lead, and he goes from first place unbeatable to last place. He's not going to do anything. He gets booed out of the stadium, gets booed out. I never saw it. I've never heard. I said, what did he say? And
what are you talking? That's the same time where he got booed for saying, get the vaccine. Was there another one with Mo Brooks? What the fuck? He didn't get booed off the stage.
Only one thing he said. He said, let's get on to the future. Let's forget about the 2020 election. So he goes from first place to last place in a period of 1 hour, but the press doesn't say that.
In an hour. Well, you got to give him credit for, consistency and seeing stuff through, those traditional values that make you pull the ripcord on somebody for just suggesting you should focus on the next election, not the one you lost. What a crazy notion. Fuck Mo Brooks, but honestly, he's shunt from MAGA Amish land.
They say my endorsement didn't have the weight. My endorsement lifted him up to, he was winning by 54 points.
What was your record in the last election?
Oh, well, 33-0 in Texas.
Yeah.
But, my record's hundreds and hundreds to like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? You guys should both nod more.
It's very important to me, that, And I endorse a lot of people that are long shots. Look, we're
no, he doesn't.
A governor who's done a very poor job in Georgia and a horrible job on the election. And hopefully David Perdue's going to win. I mean, that's, these are not.
Wait a minute. Wait. Did you guys heard that, right? I back a lot of long shots. We're up against David Kemp, who's horrible for the state and horrible for the election. And hopefully David Perdue's got a shot. This is him being nervous because Perdue's fucked. He's totally unpopular. The same problems he had in the senatorial campaign, he's going to have the same fucking problem in the governor's race. All right.
There are things. And if I lose one along the way, which you have to, right? They're going to say this was a humiliating experience. They'll make it like I could be 100 wins and 1 loss, and they'd make it sound like this is a humiliating. These are really dishonest people.
Okay, Mr. President, since you brought up Mo Brooks, after withdrawing his endorsement.
Yeah, could you bring up Mel Brooks next time?
And there are some other candidates that you have endorsed that a lot of the MAGA faithful and America First faithful are dubious about. Are there other candidates that you've already endorsed that are on the chopping block?
Well, there were a couple that I endorsed that people weren't happy about, but, they stuck with me, et cetera, et cetera. And I endorsed some that said bad things about me, but if you go by that, I wouldn't be able to endorse too many.
What? All right. So if he could only endorse people who haven't talked shit about him, he'd be hard pressed to find anybody to endorse. But also the MAGA faithful. All right. The other thing is, I love that her question is there anybody else that you basically got elected that the Q crowd, which is really what she means by MAGA faithful, don't like? And that you regret because you basically they just hand you a list of who's going to win because who's getting funded and stuff. And there are no dark horses because everything they accuse the DNC of doing to Bernie Sanders, they do to Republicans like crazy now in and amongst themselves. That's why they talk shit about it. They muddy the waters.
About it. You go back to 2016 because
I would expect it there.
They were with Ted Cruz or they were with Marco or they were with somebody. So, they said a lot of bad things. I think overall they're very happy with him, and some are really out there, but some are. There are a few that they weren't particularly happy with. I understand.
Name
that.
anybody.
And,
Use a name.
Sometimes, by the way, I'm not that happy too. I'll say, "Wow, I didn't know they said this or that." But in the Mo Brooks case, he had something that he was fighting for, which is an election integrity of 2020, and he walked away, gave it up. I was there. I have never heard a person get booed like that.
Oh, we covered that rally and
Really?
The anger was visceral. I mean,
it's terrible. I'll never remember like when he said we have to look forward, not backward. And right.
Blew the election. I told him. I said, you have a 54-point lead. You just blew the election. They blame it on me. They say, well, his endorsement isn't what it used to be. It had nothing to do. I gave him a 54-point lead. He then went against me. And you know who he hired? He hired people that worked for John McCain and worked for, I think, Romney. And they gave him some really great advice. They said, well,
oh, you mean John McCain, who has basically kept his position in government his entire life and definitely lost when he ran, but then so did you last time. So you have a little bit in common with John McCain in that regard.
So it's one of those things, but it's sad. I hate to see it. I've never, to unendorse a candidate, but I don't want to, if I stayed with him, they'll say Trump endorsed him and he went down in flames. Well, he went down.
Oh, quiet part loud.
In flames from a 54-point lead. And if he didn't show up to the rally, he would have won this election in a landslide.
Well, that's all you need then. Good. So basically, don't message to politicians. If Trump invites you to a rally, don't go.
I don't even think the other two people would have run. So they gave him very bad advice, and he listened. Then he tried to take it back, but you can't take it back. It doesn't work.
Well, once out, always out. Sir, when you...
Once out, always out. But enough about your last try for the presidency. Once out, always out. Isn't that what the Trump 24 bumper stickers are going to say? Once out, always out. Help me lose again. Can't wait to lose again. Yeah, he's got the weird diaper butt right now where it's seeping over the edge of the chair.
Over the keys to 1600, the world was pretty peaceful.
Right.
Gas was $2.
Very peaceful, actually.
Inflation was down to...
Yeah, it was amazing with everyone indoors hiding from a pandemic that you had closed down the pandemic response team on. And so, yeah, it was amazing.
Nothing. The border was completely secured in a way we haven't seen in decades. Now it's a mess. I want to start with Ukraine and Russia. What would you do if you got back?
Oh, yes. Here it comes. Strategy. We want specifics. We always ask for specifics. We never get them. It's very sad. This is John Solomon. Didn't he used to write for The Hill or something? I don't know. But he's always been a big, like, Trump fluffer. So let's hear it. Are you ready? Here it comes. This Ukraine, this is a tactical nightmare for Russia right now. They're getting attacked in Armenia right now. Like, there are Russian troops stationed in other areas that, and in Syria, places like that. And those troops are getting attacked by rebel forces and other groups who are testing their resolve because those soldiers might be called up to go to Ukraine because that's going so poorly. And people are looking at what's happening in Ukraine going, oh, we could have fucked these guys up 2 years ago. And so it's getting really terrible for Russia in a bunch of different places. A lot of their satellite endeavors it's bad. It's currently very bad for those soldiers. Meanwhile, but give us what's so bad. First of all, we know what is it going to be. What do you think's first? It never would have happened while I was president, and it didn't happen while I was president because he was in the process of gutting Ukraine and stiff-arming NATO and removing our troops so that Putin could do this easily. No wonder fucking Putin thought it was going to take him 11 minutes to take Kiev. They've been planning it for years.
Office to try to put that situation back together to get peace in Eastern Europe. And do you think the president made a big mistake when he called out and said he wanted Putin removed from power?
He didn't say he wanted Putin removed from power. He said, my God, this man can't stay in power. That's different from saying remove him. And as a president, it's meaningful. Expression of personal opinion versus policy. We're adults, for fuck's sake. Trump did nothing but he's got to go, he's a terrible human being. And everybody's like, yeah, he just says shit. But when Biden does it, they're like, is that policy? It's partly because Biden's actually a competent dude. But
First of all, it would have never happened, I have to say.
All right. Bing! Fucking hell. All right, let's see. Give me 1 second. I think we have to have some sort of, let's see. Let's see. Let's go to, check. Never would have happened box. And what do you think's, that's never happened. That looks like Nerd Halen, almost. It's not what never happened was that's supposed to be. It's hard. Hold on. Now it looks HVH. Son of a bitch. It's hard to write on this thing. I'm writing with a mouse. Okay, here we go. So never happened. Check. Secondly, what do you think's next? Putin changed. I had a very good relationship. Right? Or Biden, Mayor Moscow's wife. We'll see. So we'll go with, here's, the next one is either Putin or Biden. So Biden will be down here. Let's see which one. That looks like BO. I'm sorry. Oh, here we go.
This would have never happened, Ukraine. And I spoke to Putin about it. I know Putin.
called it. You're welcome.
Well, I spoke to him about a lot of things, and I spoke to him about Ukraine because I know he wanted it, but he knew he could not do it, not with me. And I don't have to go into the statement, but you know what the statement I made was. But it was a strong statement. Don't do it. It was a strong statement. And he didn't do it. And he wouldn't have done it. You know, I see where Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd on NBC, Meet the Fake Press, he goes out and he said to somebody something. I said, I couldn't believe it. Maybe I'll have to change my mind about Chuck Todd. Because he said, how come this never happened in Trump? There were no planes flying over Taiwan. There were no threats. Right. Now Taiwan's under threat, serious threat. And there was nothing happened in Ukraine. You didn't even really hear about Ukraine.
You didn't care about Ukraine. We were just gunning. The only thing you heard was they needed more weapons because the Russians were pushing into Donbass and the Luhansk area and all that stuff, and they needed more javelins. And I just tried to trade a favor for some of that. You know, that's all you really heard about.
I'm out, and they start forming on the border. And I actually thought it was a negotiating ploy. I thought it was very smart because they said that's a good way to negotiate, but it wasn't. No, and I think if Putin had it,
but it wasn't. So apparently, what you think of as a good negotiating tactic is fucking dumb.
Yeah, and he would have maybe done everything.
Oh, and Doug Seiler in the chat says where's it go? Olga's saying he keeps looking at the camera. Yeah, he does that when he's nervous about what he's saying. A lot of times he'll go, you know, we're doing this thing. Like, yeah.
But he wouldn't have gone in. No, I thought he was negotiating, and so did a lot of people. Most.
You know who didn't? Joe Biden. You know who was right about this shit? Joe Biden.
People didn't think he'd do this, and I think what forced him to do it was Afghanistan.
That's what forced him to do it. Well, he saw we were leaving Afghanistan, and Afghanistan is close to Russia, and so there was a pressure now that he would what?
How incompetently we handled that removal. And I'm the one that got it down to 2,000 soldiers, except we're going to keep Bagram because.
So we were, again, for the record, we, under Trump, never going to leave Afghanistan. There was never a plan to fucking leave Afghanistan. And the deal that he made with the Taliban, don't kill anybody, will be out by this date. We were going to violate it. Had he been reelected, he had every intention of violating that agreement. And that means we would have needed 20 to 30,000 troops to pacify the attack on Bagram because we said we're leaving, and then they would have taken over the country, and our fucking soldiers would have been in a base surrounded by hostile forces that he had made a deal with will be gone. Get out.
China, it's right next to China, 1 hour away from where they make their nuclear weapons.
It's a good freeze frame. It's almost like it's like he's it's a certain kind of like a face where it's like I'm gonna go with, let's see, over here, go to this guy. It has a basically like this kind of look to it. This is the best. All right. I'm a serious man with a serious job.
I think what happened, he was on the border. He had 200,000 people. He was negotiating. He was going to make a good deal. And then he saw what happened in Afghanistan. And he said, man, these guys are incompetent. Let's go in. And
he was wrong.
The force that he'd be met with. It was pretty big force.
I think a lot of Americans are recognizing that the problems we are experiencing right now were not a reality when you were in the White House. If you run and win in 2024.
Yeah, the problem, there was a lot of problems we didn't have today. Like, we didn't have when Trump was in office that we have today. Like, what are you going to wear when you go hang out with friends? What do you do when you're not happy and you have to smile now? But you don't have to wear a mask, and so we didn't have that problem.
As far as foreign policy, the foreign policy blunders, the JCPOA, Afghanistan, Russia, Ukraine, if you run and win and you have to triage all of those issues, what do you think is the most important to tackle first?
That's right. What's the prime? Thank you, Vampirus. What is the of all these things? Like the JCJOB, the LMNOP. What's the most difficult thing, and yet the thing that you could handle the easiest? Well, first of all, we had the wall built. It was never the economy.
Well, I loved your question, especially the first part, because these things we would have never been talking. I'll give you an example, supply chain. You go to a store, they don't have bread. We're like,
you go to a store, they don't have bread. I mean, it's one thing to have bread lines. We don't even have bread to have lines. We don't have bread. You know, have you been to the sandwich bar here at Mar-a-Lago? It's just a bunch of cold cuts, and you got to hold them in your fist like a wad of wet toilet paper. It's undignified. Here I am with some fucking ham slices and a piece of American cheese, still in the plastic because my single slice cheese unwrapper quit the other day because he got some fucking $15 an hour job. So I got fucking cold cuts and one slice of Kraft, like one Kraft single in the plastic, and I'm squirting mayonnaise all over it. And it's just our country is going to hell.
Third world country. They don't have things. You go to buy something at Tiffany. You go to buy something at a.
Yes. For the record, we'll put aside that in third world countries, you don't go to Tiffany's. I mean, unless there's a girl named Tiffany who's like there with an aid organization, or she just lives there. Yeah. So yes, you're right. If you went to a store called Tiffany's in a third world country, my guess is they would not have the regular stock you would see at, say, a Tiffany's in New York. It'd just be a different. Can you imagine? Look at this fucking guy looking right into the camera. Have you been able to buy? What if you want a diamond? You know what? If you wanted a conflict diamond right now, I don't even know why you get it. I used to be able to go downstairs to the Tiffany's on the first floor of Trump Tower with Melania. Well, she would go early, and then I would meet her there later. And she would be sweaty. It was weird because it was a cold place, but she would always, they had this special, apparently, very secure diamond viewing room just for ladies. I'd love to go in there, but they don't let you. And one of the security guards would take her in there, big tall fella, and he would take her into the special woman's only diamond viewing room. And it must have had no air conditioning. And it's very small, like the doors are, because it's for security. You would go in there, and as you moved around, like she came out a couple of times, and her clothes were all disheveled, and her skirt was on backwards, and the buttons were half done, because she had to squeeze through this little place. I don't know how the big guy did it. One time his fly was down. I think it got snagged on something. Anyways, she would come out of there, and she'd go, after a lot of this looking, and she'd go, they don't have anything I like. I'll take that one. And then I'd buy her a ring to apologize for fucking yet another prostitute that Epstein hooked me up with. And then we'd go upstairs. Tiffany earrings went from $3,000 to $3,250 under Biden. It's fucking highway robbery.
Hardware store? High? Low?
Yes, a Tiffany's hardware store. High, low, you want the high-end Tiffany hammer with the diamond tip on it, or the low-end Tiffany hammer that's really just like a piece of jewelry that looks like a hammer, and you wear it and people go, isn't that quaint? Did you get it? Yes, I got it for him for his honeydew list because he was supposed to do some stuff, and we were watching HGTV because we were thinking of selling them a show, and he's like, I can do all that stuff, and I bought him this little diamond hammer pendant, and it's got a little diamond in it, and he didn't want to wear it, so I took it back down, and they reset it and put it on a necklace. That's adorable. These are saltier than normal. Are these... Like, I know my caviar. That's not caviar. That's kitten, isn't it? Is it kitten? That's kitten, isn't it? Delicious. I will have some more of that kitten pate. That's, yes. No, leave the bones in. They're crispy.
They don't have product. They say, even me, when I order things like for furnishings for a building or something, they say...
Yes. When I order cheap shit from overseas.
It'll take 9 months to get it. Used to be like same day service.
Yeah, before a worldwide pandemic. Mm-hmm. Used to be same day service when I bought shit that was made here. Now I order it from overseas, and they're like, yeah, it's in a war zone. Like, I can't get anything out of Russia right now. I used to order stuff from Russia, 24 hours. They'd fly it in. I don't know why they were deferential to me, but they would always bring me, like, I could get Russian, like, lamps and, and chairs and selling. Then now it takes, they said it's, they're not sure when it'll come because like, they've got the wood and they've got the fabric and they've got the springs and they've got the foam and but apparently the listening devices in them have these little chips that they just can't get right now. Fucking chip shortage.
Supply chain, we never even heard the term. It wasn't like...
First of all, who the fuck is new to the term supply chain? I mean, obviously it's in the news a lot lately, but like, who the fuck's like, supply chain? Supply chain. What is that word you're saying? I can't even I got to learn to pronounce that because if we're going to start using that word a lot, supply chain.
The system was working. The system's totally broken. Our system is broken.
Okay, by the way, the system was totally working. This is the fucking guy who's like, we shipped our jobs overseas. Everything you have to is made in China. Our factory jobs is just fucked up, and the American worker needs to elect me so I can bring these factories back so stuff is made here. P.S. Fast forward to when he lost the second time. Everything was fine. What the fuck?
And we're going into socialism, and we're going into communism.
Hike! Is there a difference? I don't know. Like the other day, I had a hold of a boob, right? Some of these professionals, they get aftermarket ones. And she only had one. Usually they come in pairs. And she said she's waiting. Anyways, we're going into socialism and we're going into communism. Because Biden is apparently wanting factories to make chips in the United States.
Now, I see where the people of Russia don't know they're in a war. It's very interesting.
I see where the people of Russia don't know that they're in a war.
Well, our people, we're treated the same. We're getting to that point. As an example with Hunter Biden, where they didn't report any of the activities on the laptop. But it was worse than that. You know that. It wasn't like they didn't report. They knew it was bad. They say 17 points bad for Biden.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I would say that's the same. The Russian people don't know that their leader has done an unprovoked attack of another country and is laying waste to entire cities, killing hundreds of children, thousands of civilians, thousands of soldiers, destroying cities and infrastructure and all this, and they don't know about it. The Russian people don't know. They don't know. They have no idea. And it's exactly like the Hunter Biden laptop, which I have never, ever seen. This motherfucker was president of the United States of America. The entire intelligence community reported to him. If he wanted Hunter Biden's fucking laptop on his desk, he'd have had it. His own personal attorney told us hundreds, dozens of times, I will say, I don't want to exaggerate too much, definitely dozens of times that he had it personally. He has it. He was in possession of it. And not only that, he was in possession of 4 copies of the hard, well, 3 copies of well, there's 2. Actually, and this motherfucker has never seen it. He's never laid eyes on it. He's never seen a picture of it. How is that possible? All right, kids. You guys know I plan on running for office. More news to come on that. April is the month where things start to launch. And eventually I'm going to be president of the United States. Just mark my words. And the day I am president of the United States, if there is ever a situation where there is supposedly like worldwide crime shenanigans by someone on this massive scale, a spider web, a crime family, the mafia's control of their son that might be running against me and all this stuff, and they've got it on they got evidence of the vile depravity that they have, and that they would. I'm going to ask to see a picture of the evidence. I'm going to ask for that. Now, I'm going to leave the DOJ to do their job, and I'm not going to direct them to do anything untoward or attack my opponents or anything like that. But if they're engaged in criminal activity with a foreign power, you bet your ass I'm going to see the evidence. If they're like, oh yeah, his VR helmet, we got a hold of it and it's got a hard chip in it that stores everything. You should see what this fucker was having for his meetings. They digitally stored all his Viso meetings he has on this chip, where he met with the Lavrov's grandson. All right, fine. You bet your ass I'm gonna see that.
And we won it by a lot anyway, but that way you couldn't have. It was so big. And so it made a 17-point difference. And then they announced almost a year and a half later, that, by the way, we got it wrong. But they didn't get it wrong. They did that on purpose. And so did other of the media. And they said the laptop was made by Russia. Think of it. In all fairness, Putin at that time must have thought.
Well, by the way, nobody thinks it was made by Russia. Allegedly, it's an Apple laptop. The evidence on it was concocted by Russia. For the record.
Nuts.
He had to be laughing.
He's probably sitting back. And we made him look good because if it was done by Russia, it was so genius, right? Right. But it wasn't done by Russia. It had nothing to do with Russia. But they made it Russia. Russia's always the bad one. You ever notice it's never China?
No,
it's always Russia.
Yes, it is China sometimes. What the fuck are you talking about? It's just China didn't do that shit. Get out of here.
Well, that's because they're all making money out of China.
They're reversing all your China policies.
No, all the crooked politicians are making money out of China.
That's what it is.
I think we have a lot of things.
No one is making money out of China right now. Like, I think that, like, it was $18 billion went out of the Chinese stock market yesterday.
We have to immediately seal up the border.
In specifically Chinese co-owned companies.
And we have to get a lot of the people out because many of these people came from prisons in these countries. And last month, there were 129 countries. It's no longer just those few countries, including Mexico, that I talk about all.
Yeah, there's Latvians and Russian cosmonauts and French painters. I mean, seriously, the border looks like a Where's Waldo picture.
It's now like 140 countries. Some people said they didn't know
Some people say they didn't know there was 140 countries. Were you that little boy?
That many. They're just flooding in. And they're almost all letting their prisoners out into the United States. Why wouldn't they? It's very expensive keeping prisoners, and they don't want them anyway. So that's one thing we have to do. We have to straighten out inflation, which we can do much easier than people know. I think if you got the energy cost, you know, I had energy down to $1.87 a gallon. Think of that. Forget about the price per barrel, because most people don't know what that means, but we're setting records.
Yeah, I don't even know how you, so what is a barrel? How do you even sell it? What is so you pay for something in barrel form? Do they just bring the oil in and kind of an exaggerated, they barrel in with it? Is that what you mean?
You know, we're setting records. But we now have the most expensive gasoline in the history of our country. And we had it down below $2, way down below. Actually.
Yes, when no one was going anywhere.
In one way, I had to get it up because I said, I don't want to lose the oil companies, okay? And, you know, some of them don't love me because I made them work harder and make less money. They worked harder and made less money, but it was a beautiful thing. But if energy comes down.
What do you mean work harder and make less money? You made them lower production.
So important. Other parts of inflation are coming down. I was seeing today, I read where food is going to make energy look like it's a good deal, that the food prices are going to go up much more very soon, much more than the energy prices did. And the energy prices now I'm seeing in places like Midwest stuff, Midwest where it was never that bad. In California, it would go up to $7, $8, but in the Midwest, I hear it's over $5.
It is.
But it's going to go up. And I predicted this during the debates. I predicted this. And one thing well,
that's because you'd been talking to Putin and he was going to do this, and you knew that Europe would actually pull out of that thing and the U.S. would sell more oil and gas. You thought you'd get credit for that part of it, because that part's not hard to figure out. And you could actually give Ukraine to Russia, and you'd still be able to up the amount of natural gas and oil that we supply to Europe, so you could sell that. You predicted it because that was strategized.
Your show, as long as Putin now is not exactly a fan of our country, let him explain because Chris Wallace wouldn't let me ask the question.
Who's Chris Wallace?
Why did the mayor of Moscow's wife give the Bidens, both of them, $3.5 million for them? That's a lot of money.
Is it, though? Also, he didn't give it to the Bidens. He gave it to Rosemont Seneca to invest. They didn't get to keep it. Everyone knows this. I don't want to step on Vladimir Putin's toes. I'm sure he has a great story he could tell. He could turn this into something. But the mayor of Moscow's wife wanted to invest $3.2 million. So she gave it to Rosemont Seneca to invest. And they get a percentage of the return. Now, remember, this guy knows business.
Gave him $3.5 million. So now I would think Putin would know the answer to that. I think he should release it. I think we should know that answer. Now, you won't get the answer from Ukraine, but why are they giving somebody who knows nothing about energy $187,000 a month plus
first of all, it was 40, then it was 80, now it's 187,000 a month. Congratulations, Hunter Biden, on the raise you keep getting every time they tell this story. Also, because he wasn't there as a drilling advisor, he was there as a shepherd of investment with his partners. People want to invest in your company. Here is their money. We are going to watch and make sure that you actually produce things. Like, we can obviously tell if you're making a profit, then obviously you're producing more and it's working. And they'll get a piece of that profit. This is not going to work if you take the money we give you and you run off to Russia with it, which is what has happened the last 5 times. And because my dad is the vice president, if you try that shit, A, I'm on the hook for it, and B, he'll know in theory. Right? That's the fear. That's what they were. I mean, he didn't even have to promise that. That's the understanding.
$1 million upfront payment. And I won't even talk about China because they haven't gone into Taiwan yet.
Right.
That'll be next. But why did the mayor of Moscow...
So you worked that out with Xi Jinping, did you?
...his wife gave the Biden family $3.5 million. Nobody wants to ask the question. And Chris Wallace, who's a total lightweight, unlike his father, who interviewed me for 60 Minutes, who was actually a good piece. Mike Wallace was great. He wants to be Mike Wallace, but he doesn't have the talent. But why is it that...
Well, that's the thing about, the son of somebody who starts a company or starts something or whatever. They're always never going to live up to the standard. Like if there was some dude who, whatever, an asshole he was, built kind of spitballing a real estate empire. And then he had kind of a nudnik dipshit son who took his, the entire, everything his dad taught him about business and development and all this stuff, and then just shit the company, into receivership essentially, and had to turn the entire thing into a branding exercise.
Mayor of Moscow's wife gave the Biden family $3.5 million. I think Putin now would be willing to probably give that answer. I'm sure he knows.
And there are 200 million more.
Yes, he knows. Putin knows why. Here's why. She wanted to invest $3.2 million. Also, Russia, if you're listening, I heard a thing from Rudy Giuliani, and please help me, because I used to have my finger on the button and everybody had to return my call, and now I'm doing an interview in a decrepit wedding cake styled drawing room, minor ballroom at Mar-a-Lago with 2 assholes who can't think of anything better to say than you're right.
Mentioned in the documents that went to other entities around him. It's the numbers. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know. You guys want? I feel like I should go in this as a waiter. Hold on one second. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. Hold on. Hi, do you guys want anything else, or can I get you just, we have great desserts that are available. We are missing a few ingredients though. So we do have the massive chocolate cake. We always have that. It's fantastic. The little gold leaf that you eat, we are actually out of that. We can, if you like the feeling of metal hitting your fillings, we can do tinfoil in a pinch. We have the what do we have? Let's see. Our specials today are the pussy grabbing parfait. Grab 'em by the parfait is what it's called. We also we have, I think, the most amazing dessert you have ever had. It is fantastic. It is, honest to God, one of the it is my favorite. Personally, it is it's Mr. Trump's special. He came up with the recipe. He oversaw every aspect of its development, and it is singularly the most wonderful thing you have ever tasted. Unfortunately, when you order it, it will take 2 weeks to get here. Yeah. From whenever you order it, and then I come back 2 weeks from now, and I tell you I give you the same pitch again, and then you get it, and I'll tell you it's another 2 weeks. But we're very close. It's called a very short piece of pie. And it's just lovely. And then, ma'am, I'm sorry, Mar-a-Lago rules. You have to wait until the men eat. So.
You mentioned China, Mr. President. When you were president, you did something called the Quad that really...
I'm moving myself. I am not sitting on this dude's face. I'm sorry. I feel so small. There we go. All right, that's a little better.
Regional strength there. If you got back in office, would you focus on creating a NATO, a PATO for the Pacific?
Well, I think...
Yeah, I think that's a great... A PATO? A PATO. A PATO. The A stands for Atlantic. All right.
NATO maybe should be involved. You know, we spent...
Wait a minute. Hold on. Back the fuck up. What?
You focus on creating a NATO, a PATO for the Pacific.
Well, I think this NATO maybe should be involved. You know, we spent so much money defending Europe. And
no, NATO is not going to be involved in around Taiwan. That's what the AUKUS is, you dumb... Oh, fucking hell. Lord almighty. Biden he fucking did this. He created the AUKUS agreement. Japan's gonna join it. They're kind of calling it JAWKUS, which sounds a little naughty.
They took advantage of us very badly on trade. They were almost as bad as China, frankly. How many cars are being sold in Berlin? Let's say Chevrolets or Fords. How about none? How many?
Well, no, they do sell them. There's more Corvettes, actually.
Are being sold. They don't take our farm products. They don't take our cars. They don't take most of our products. And then we defend them under NATO, and they didn't pay their bills. And they love to say, oh, Trump wasn't with... Well, I did a great job for NATO because, in fact, the one person that loves me is Stoltenberg. He said, I didn't think it was possible. I came in, first meeting, I had to get a little familiar with it, right? 28 countries where many of them, 20 of them were not paid or paid far less than they were supposed to be. And I said, fellas, you're delinquent. In most cases, fellas, let's see, in 2 cases, not. I said, you're delinquent.
Also, he seems to think that that they paid us this money. Seriously. He seems to think that, like, they're delinquent paying the United States, like, protection money. And I think, quite frankly, that, like, his characterization of it like this is exactly the kind of thing that appeals to his followers, right? Maybe that's what he means by PATO. But the entirety of this argument, I think, appeals to the MAGA crowd or whatever. Like, they were supposed to pay us to protect NATO countries, and they were behind. They were delinquent on their payments to us. They just weren't investing in their militaries up to 2%. Which, by the way, when they do, in a bunch of cases, they buy shit. In some cases, like Poland, they were buying military shit on that investment from Russia. Why the fuck do you think they have MiGs? Now, they're going to pass those along to the Ukrainians, but it's not like they're paying us to get F-16s, and Russia was making money off of some of these countries to buy, like, military gear, which, by the way, we now know from its use in Ukraine is complete shit.
You're not paying your bills. You got to pay your bills. We'll talk about it the next time.
And again, yeah, see, I think that's all this illusion is about. Like, he likes the idea, and these two dipshits, I mean, I don't know that, I mean, Solomon, I think he's thinking in terms of they're supposed to invest. He's doing the, Trump translation in his own head. But But I think the main focus of this is making like the Fox News crowd and Trump's followers all hear this NATO talk like they owed us money and he bitch better have my money to Germany. That's what they think.
I went in and they asked me the question.
Right. Grace in the things, NATO countries pay NATO from their military budgets to themselves. It's a percentage of their military budget. Exactly. They're supposed to contribute 2% towards the NATO forces every year. All these countries chip in a little bit, some bigger than others, because the 2% obviously of a big economy versus a small economy is a major factor. But like Lithuania, some of the newer ones, and they're not going to be contributing much of anything except troops and that kind of stuff. So the fact that their taxpayers pay for NATO troops to go, their troops to train along next to ours and shit like that, that's kind of their investment, right? They don't have the cash to pour into it. And it's a contribution level. Also, a lot of this was down from 2008. Now, NATO, in a lot of ways, had been lulled into this false sense of security, like a lot of people did, that Russia was no longer a threat and that they were comfortable with the world order and they were participants in it. We now know that was complete bullshit. And I would say unequivocally that Russia was always rope-a-doping us, at least under Putin. I think Gorbachev and Yeltsin, you could argue that they genuinely meant what they said in their opening, but the people behind them, what's effectively their version of the deep state, one of whom became the leader of the country, Vladimir Putin, had always had, the idea that they would reconstitute the land of the former USSR under the new Russian banner, the Imperial Russia.
Said, will you defend us from Russia, originally Soviet Union, but now Russia, if we're not paid up? I said, no, I won't. I will not.
Right. Okay. Will you defend? And first of all, nobody fucking said that. Will you defend us from Russia if we're not paid up? Get out of here. There's no fucking way that conversation happened. That's just stupid. But also, the fact that he's like selling this idea that like, will you protect us from Russia? Asshole, we're with NATO. Most of the troops wouldn't be us anyways. If Poland is attacked, all the other countries would help out and we would have soldiers in it. But so would every other NATO country. We would attack the person attacking. It's a fucking treaty. We're not going to leave it. But this is the idea. Again, think about this conversation. We're not going to protect you if you're not paid up. With the idea that basically that a lot of them can't. Right? So which one's he talking to? Germany? Well, Russia's not going to attack Germany. Poland? It's different. Now, Germany could afford to catch up. They could start contributing. But Latvia and Lithuania, could they afford to catch up with everybody else? And if he's telling them we're not going to defend people if they're not caught up, that means Latvia and Lithuania are on their fucking heels. And then he starts pulling soldiers out of Germany, which would be the staging point to protect these smaller countries. This was all fucking... you could spot this shit from far away. This fucking Hail Mary was thrown in 2018.
I'm president. The money poured in. I saved NATO.
Yeah. Yeah.
400.
No, it didn't. And by the way, the money poured in. Again, what the fuck are you talking about? The money didn't pour. They buy shit themselves. Now, they probably bought stuff from our military contractors. And that might be what he's talking about. You guys have to commit to buy this many trucks and planes and tanks and fucking missiles and shit like that. Which helped him, by the way, patch a hole in his tax cut.
And $25 billion. Billion.
Oh, nice, Angelica.
Came in like clockwork, okay?
It came in like clockwork and went out like hotcakes. It came in like clockwork. Did he get a book of like colloquialisms when he was a boy? And he was like, I'm going to learn all these colloquialisms. And then his father came in and went, what is this bullshit? And just tore the pages and he taped it back together. I'm going to keep my book of colloquialisms.
Major success.
But you know who didn't pay up? Germany didn't pay up, and some others.
And some others. Like who? Latvia and Lithuania because they couldn't afford to? So great. You just leave them out. Basically, you're saying any of the countries that want to be protected in the alliance, buy some military gear from us. If you don't, then if Russia attacks you, we're just going to sit back and let it fucking happen. Which is a total undermining of Article 5.
Take advantage of us. They really do. And
Again, what the fuck? What do you mean, take advantage of us? Most of them never could picture a time, and I believe this is their mistake in leadership most of the time, because everybody thought we were living in a post-World War II order. God forbid, right? Especially since the end of the Soviet Union. It's post-Cold War, especially. Like, all right, we're all doing business. Some people are trustworthy, some people aren't, but basically everybody's on the up and up. Nobody's going to fucking invade any other countries anymore. Germany's not going to take part of fucking Poland and France ever again. We're not doing that shit anymore. They lived there. That's why they were less committed to putting money into NATO. So basically, effectively, you can just have Putin have Trump call their bluff, and they don't have the money to do it. And you go, well, we don't really have an alliance. And then you rip up NATO. You go, well, Germany's kicking in, and France is kicking in, UK, but fuck them. They can afford to defend themselves, and it's never going to happen anyways. What do we need NATO for? You could see the fucking trajectory of this
sort
bullshit.
Of a shame, but I'm the best thing that ever happened to NATO because I made them pay. So NATO has plenty of money now. And by the way, I'm the one brought up Nord Stream 2.
Yep.
You're the best. You never heard of Nord Stream 2. I'm the one that...
You blocked it?
I terminated it. They weren't going to have it. He then opened it. And I'm the one that got NATO the money to...
If you terminated it, how could he open it?
Defend themselves against
this is the same shit.
Russia. And then they'd say, Russia he's so nice to Russia. I'm the one that put the biggest sanctions on Russia.
Well, no, the Senate and the Congress did. Specifically the Senate. You did it because you had to. You just waited till the absolute last second on everything. Do we have to look up the fucking story? By the way, you're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Hi, happy Wednesday. I have a hard out at 5 o'clock. So, just heads up.
China, by the way. In fact, now he wants to take...
By the way, like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Oh, I should put my other graphic up on this one, too, since I'm doing this stuff. Since I'm trying to be a boss. Well, give me 1 second. Add a new source. Browser source. Go down here. It'll be a little big when I put it in. I apologize. There it is. Hey, 849 subs on Twitch. Look at that. We're getting there. You guys, let's do this. Oh, let's put this down here. And then I'll put it like that. That's not bad. And then I'll make it smaller because it's not a huge part of what we're doing. But yay! Thank you, Bridget, for the super chat. Says, Hal, thank you for speaking the truth. You rock. I'm glad to. And Dan, thank you. And Sherry, thank you. And Lulu Girl, thank you. And Robert, thank you. All right, here we go.
Tariffs off China. You know why? For inflation.
Yep.
Figure that one out. He wants to take tariffs off China to cover our inflation.
You also ended your Chinese spying program. All the work you did to rein in the spies.
We had that down to a science, and they ended it. Well, don't forget, his son manages $1.5 billion of Chinese money. Even though the biggest people on Wall Street can't do that, I asked the two biggest people, I said, did you ever get a deal like that where you get a large sum? He said, no, China doesn't do that. They manage their own money, he said.
So rare.
Mr.
So rare. I guess he was like, it looks like Hunter knows some real business people, especially the ones that did this 4 years before he joined the company.
There were a lot of things that you had down to a science. And I know that the border, there were more things.
Yes. You know what you had down to a science? Anti-science. You had anti-science down to, dare I say it, a science. And when you said, get some light inside the body and maybe disinfect,
you wanted to do, but it was so much better before. with the repealing of the Remain in Mexico policy. Now
that was so important.
Yeah,
so
and the
important.
COVID era Title 42, that's going to be another 150,000 immigrants. The cynical side of me says it feels
Hold on, Title 42 is still in place.
like controlled demolition. I don't want to believe that, but that's what it seems like with President Biden.
They're destroying our country. I had the border to the best numbers ever in recorded history by far.
Yeah, disease will do that. Ask whoever was fucking the King of England in the 1300s.
And they were only getting better. We were taking out thousands and thousands of.
Yeah, we're taking out thousands of people. COVID was taking out thousands and thousands of Americans, actually.
Bad people, criminals. MS-13, we were taking them out by the thousands, bringing them back to their countries. Their countries said no.
Yeah, a bunch of them are Americans. They're like,
I said, that's okay. We're not going to pay the country anymore. We're not going to pay you the hundreds of millions. Then they said, yes, absolutely. We'd love to take them back. But they weren't being taken back under Obama at all.
Yes, they were.
But with me, they took them back. We got rid of thousands of people. And now when I watch this coming, they're all coming back in. Those same people are coming back in.
Sure.
Yeah. You guys watch the border crossing channel? I watch it all the time. You know, where they single and they have used the new technology. They use like drones and they go, this guy was an enforcer for El Chapo for 6 years. Now he's alone. He was put in jail for, forcible sodomy 2 years ago. He's been released from Guatemala on an exchange program and driven all the way to the border. Where's he going to go next on border crossing live?
5% of
we never had a border so secure. Our drug numbers were way down. Now they're up 10 times.
Okay, first of all, no, they're not. But also, you're talking about COVID numbers. Nobody was going anywhere.
Numbers were way, way down because it was so hard to get in. And we were only getting better. And the wall was very close. Other than the 2.5 years I had to wait to win lawsuits, the wall was getting absolutely, it was really in a great position. We were going to have it finished in 3 weeks.
Yeah, it was good. 3 weeks. This wall was in a, what's the word I'm looking for? The wall was actually, there was you've got a wall about you. All right.
And it really helped us anyway, because we built, hundreds of miles of wall.
Exactly. A trillion miles of walls.
The wall the Border Patrol wanted. So
exactly
when I watch to see what's happening, it's very, very sad. I mean, our country is being destroyed by these people. The border's a disaster. We're no longer.
I mean, obviously, they're coming over here. They're stealing jobs, which is why unemployment's at 3.6%.
Respected. They don't respect our leader at all. They don't respect Biden at all. It's so sad to see what's happened to our great USA. But we can come back. I think these midterms are vital, just vital. And
are they vital,
I think
though?
the House is in great shape. I think the Senate's hurt badly by Mitch McConnell, very badly. I think he's terrible. He's also terrible for our country, but it's hurt very badly by Mitch McConnell. I mean, look at what he does on the debt ceiling. He could have gotten everything. He gave it away for nothing. And then he gave him an infrastructure bill. That's not infrastructure. Only 9% is infrastructure.
Okay, that's also a number he heard and he's just latched onto. Because I think they were even using the numbers of like when Build Back Better and the infrastructure bill were one thing. So they're like the stuff that's in Build Back Better now, when it was attached, that the whole thing wasn't infrastructure, and the only part they considered infrastructure was like the rebuilding of bridges specifically. They weren't counting power grid. They weren't counting rural broadband. They weren't counting lead pipes. It was just bridges. That's it. 9% fucking bridges and potholes.
And he gave him a victory. I said to the people, other senators, why did he do that? And we had certain senators vote for that. And Some were very
Right.
good people. I like them a lot, but I said, what's wrong with you? Why do you do that? It's sad. So he's bad, but I think we're going to do very well in the House. And we have a chance to get the Senate too, but I think we're going to do very well in the House.
Well, I want to ask.
By the way, congratulations, Perdue, on that rousing endorsement. I had a chance to get the Senate, but
While we're talking about Congress, because these comments went viral at the rally when Congressman Matt Gaetz brought up you being nominated for Speaker of the House. And your reaction intrigued me because I couldn't tell one way or the other how you felt about that. Your reaction.
It's a real job with almost no prestige. And considering how shitty Pelosi's life has been while she's done it, as far as how she's pilloried by your side, would you like the chance to be third in line for the presidency and never actually get the job?
No, I think that it's not something I want to. A lot of people bring it up. It's brought up all the time.
Yeah.
No, it's not something I want to do. I want to look at what's happening, and then we're going to be doing something else. No, it's not something I would be interested in.
We want to look at what's happening and do something else. Leadership. Dynamic, powerful leadership. Donald Trump.
Sir, last question, because I know you have to run. Election integrity.
Was that an edit? Is that what we missed? Was I talking over the edit? Hold on.
A lot of people bring it up. It's brought up all the time.
Yeah.
No, it's not something I want to do. I want to look at what's happening, and then we're going to be doing something else. No, it's not something I would be interested in.
Sir, last question, because I know you have to run. Election integrity. There's still a lot of issues out there, not only from 2020, but the way the rules are set. Non-citizen voting creeping into some states, mass mailing of ballots still going on in a lot of places, ballot harvesting being looked at. Do you feel confident that Republicans can get control of the election system, and what do they need to do?
So Georgia's very weak. They passed a very weak law. Texas passed a very strong law. Yeah. Georgia, with this Kemp, doesn't even have signature verification. And the bill was sent to him with signature verification. He didn't want to have it. He's afraid.
By the way, that was for during COVID. The whole point is people were socially distancing, and you're going to send somebody to their fucking house into their home and to be a signature, like you have to handhold the entire fucking citizenry? Are we talking about, like, first of all, the nanny state aspects of this are off the fucking charts. But the idea is that you basically want to be able to send somebody there to menace voters.
Stacey Abrams, if there's something going on with Kemp, it's so badly run. Texas has a great law. Nothing's going to happen there. They have a great law. Yeah. They passed a really very strong one. And so did many other states.
Good. So when Texas naturally and normally turns purple and then eventually turns blue, you'll know who to thank.
Like Florida, everyone said, oh, Florida, Florida. But I won in like a landslide. The way you win.
Well, like a landslide. Of course, do you want to recount there? Can we look at those numbers again? I'm just saying. I mean, everybody that talks about this stuff apparently is very suspicious about the whole thing. And is there? I mean, every time they do a recount, we find more votes.
What?
Yes, I just think maybe we need to look at Florida, since they use the ES and S machines, the same ones that they used in Texas. And I don't know why we can trust any of the. Yes, I know it's true. I just find it concerning, the whole thing.
Is you have to win them, because when they have no voter ID, defund the police, sanctuary cities, weak military, we're going to raise your taxes, no energy independence, all things that were all done. And they're against it.
I have all things that are good. I got Baileys. You ever drink Bailey from a shoe? You ever go to a club where people wee on each other? I was president of the United States. I'm old Don.
Bad on religion. Bad on the Second Amendment. Bad on oil. Think of it. They said, I'm going to have a close race in Texas, but they're against God, right? Just look at it. God, guns, and oil.
which, by the way, apparently this dipshit can't tell the difference between. Apparently God, guns, and oil are like one big lump that it has no distinguishing features. Also, Biden fucking every time. This is the second Ash Wednesday where he's had ashes on his fucking forehead. We have 2 times this dude went to church while he was president, when he wasn't just like called up to fucking do a rally and try to, get votes from the crowd there. One was when he was first elected and he had to go sit there with everybody, and because it's part of, the experience, and have all these faith leaders come in and from all the different faiths. Well, not all of them, obviously. There's like 2,000 faiths in this country. But like the 6 majors come out and give a speech or a sermon rather, and kind of talk, just to the new president. He was there for that one with the family. It was a big to do. And then he walks over, they clear the square, and he walks over to hold the Bible upside down. Is that your Bible? It's a Bible. One
Texas in a record, right? But, the papers are so corrupt, the media is so corrupt that they actually build up a case like a tough race. We won that massively. We won many of them massively. Totally. I say we won every swing state by a lot. And you are one of the people that cover it. You understand exactly what I'm talking about. It was corrupt. But when you have policies like that, like you're against the Second Amendment, there's so many different things. I don't believe they're a 50-50 party. I think they cheat on elections. That's what I think. And the way you beat it also, in addition.
Well, by the way, of course you have to think that, because you're a lifelong fuck up. I mean, that's what he is. He's a fuck up. And by the way, can I show you something? That not only, first of all, how many times we've heard this dickhead talk about how Putin's at the top of his game, man? Putin is at the top of his game. And Biden, even in prime time, remember that bullshit? When he means in his prime? Let's see. Putin, let's see. I gotta put this over here. Let's see. Putin, Intel. All right. So this guy, hold on. We'll hide out of the way. This guy wants you to think that Biden is missing a step and is lost, doesn't know what he's doing, whatever. And he's up against this dude who is at the top of his game. Except, this is first of all, anybody looking at the fucking battle plan knows this is garbage. And that Putin's, this is a mask-off moment for what a fuck-up ultimately Putin is. And he's a small-time thug who basically slipped by on the grace of the rest of the world, giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's like going to be a Yeltsin or something like that. And the fact that he's not afraid to murder individuals every so often on a one-to-one. He's a gangster. He's a fucking mid-level gangster who ended up being the Godfather because he's the one left alive. Doesn't mean he knows what the fuck he's doing. And part of his success has been the rest of the world going, okay, all right, well, we don't want to fuck with the Russian people. We don't have a beef with them per se, so we won't call you on your worst shit when you do it. We'll tiptoe around it because it's not the Russians' fault, and it's just part of the deal, right? Meanwhile, this guy, according to Trump, this dude is top of his fucking game. All right, who else? Who else is this guy like, he's dealing with people. He's dealing with these kind of politicians who are, they don't miss a step. They're snappy. They get right to the point. They're sharp as a tack. And Biden can't deal with these guys. Like, he's going to deal with Kim Jong-un. Right? Yeah, I mean, Biden's dealing with these, like, they didn't do this kind of shit when I was in charge. This guy's at the top of his game. How is Biden even going to compete? Look at this guy. He's funny. He likes it. Trump got along with him. I got along with this guy. We fell in love. He wrote me letters. We hung out. This guy was fucking cheap. And Biden does, look at this. Look how macho this is. And oh shit, right. This is all fake. Douchebag. But how many times has Trump said this? Biden doesn't, he can't deal with these guys because these guys are firing on all cylinders. I knew these guys. They're all great. They're all top of the game. Okay, how about this? Let's see. Whoops. Ping. Let's see. Well, hold on. I need something like this. Now, who else? Oh man, this dude. Who else? Think. Say, somebody got a bear stuck in a hole. This guy though. I mean, sure, Putin turned out to be completely insane, full of shit, and deluded. Kim Jong-un, basically complete bullshit. But this dude, 1.5 billion people with an iron fist. This guy controls oh. The biggest guys in the world, they're all my friends, and they're smarter than anybody you've ever met, and the greatest people you've ever known are my best friends. Don't you know? Do boy, what's it gonna do? Do. She seeks to quell internal rebellion. Everything's going fine. It couldn't get any better. Faction of former top Chinese cop threatening Xi at the Asian Sentinel. A faction linked to a disgraced former senior Chinese official is posing such a serious threat to Chinese President Xi Jinping that China's Ministry of Public Security has formed a team to crush it. He's the smartest guy in the world, and he's a friend of mine. I know him well. Right. For fuck's sake. You starting to get the picture? If Trump likes you, if Trump goes, that guy's smart. That guy, he's fucking top of his game. Tip top, super smart. You know what that means? That means if he says that to you, about you, that means you're a fuck up. Because it takes one to fucking know one. He's a fuck up. He's a fuck up. She's a fuck up. Putin's a fuck up. Un's a fuck up. Wouldn't you like to be a fuck up too? Be a fuck up just like this fuck up. But but they did have cake. It's a good point. What the hell? Get out of here with this nonsense. Stop it.
What they're doing is you have to swamp them because there comes a point when they can't cheat that much.
Yeah.
I believe that happened in Florida.
Yes. So the solution in Florida is swamp. I see. Well, hey, they got plenty, and with the way the climate's headed, they'll have plenty more. That's right. It'll be the slosh me state. Because remember, because of climate change, Florida's going to be underwater. But it's not going to be like underwater like Atlantis, where you go like, hey, you want to go scuba dive and look at old Miami? No, it's going to be under about this much water. Every fucking where. Mosquitoes, crocodiles, or alligators rather, and it's just going to be everywhere you go. Great. This is going to be great.
That's why I did so
well.
well.
Mosquitoes.
One final question.
It's not... That's why he did so well. It's not because Republicans have controlled the state and used it to manipulate it for years, and it's why he did so well. Oh, I know another reason why he did so well. Let's see, Florida villages. I have another idea why he might have done well in Florida. I think it might have something to do with this. Fourth resident of the Villages arrested for voter fraud. Guess who they all voted for? That's right. All of them. What are the fucking odds? What the fucking odds? You think 1 out of 4 would have voted for Biden? 25%, 75%, even if it's tipped one way. Nope. All of them voted twice for Donald Trump. 8 bullshit votes. All right, there you go. I can't imagine that's why I did so well, because they know the Democrats know how to cheat. Good Lord. By the way, the dude has totally missed his calling as the cast as the new Maytag repairman. I'm just saying.
As the protection of midterm elections 2024 and the RNC's involvement, what more can they?
Midterm elections 2024. Forget it. She's on a roll.
Doing to fortify the elections?
Well, the vote counter in this last election was much more important than the candidate. And the vote counters were, there was great dishonesty. Look, it's been proven. Look at Wisconsin, what's going on. I think they may decertify their election.
Yeah.
Where they had almost 100% of people in nursing homes voted. But if you go over the last 30, 40 years, it was...
Yeah, usually Republicans make sure those folks can't vote. It's weird. Almost 100%.
Tiny little percentage, you know. And then people...
No. Like 80%. Old people always vote at a higher level.
Come forward. My mother didn't vote. My mother's in a coma.
Right.
Oh, that, by the way, there's a MAGA woman who, like, her mother clearly is a Biden voter. Her mother's like, I like Joe Biden. He's been around for a long time. She voted for Obama. She liked Joe Biden. One of the reasons why she gave Obama a shot, this woman's mother, was because Biden was on the ticket. She's like, he's sensible. He's not crazy left. He's center, blah, blah, blah. And so that was the idea. So it's no surprise when he ran for president, she's like, I like that guy. P.S. The other dude who you like, dear, is a fucking monster. This woman just had an argument. It's like interpersonal redneck family bullshit. And she's like, my mother is obviously senile. She does not understand that there is a cabal of baby-eating pedophiles that are running a human milkshake factory to feed Hillary Clinton and lizard people. Like, okay. My mother is not in any state where she can, in the mental space to vote at all. They are trying to get her. Look, I was speaking to JFK Jr. in a streetlight the other day.
Father didn't vote. People died and they voted. Look.
Well, it's the other way around. Some people voted and then they died. That happens all the time. I'm just saying, every election, I'm sorry, folks. Some of you are going to vote and then you're not going to make it to election day. You just aren't. Or you're going to, on the way home from the booth. It just happens. It's going to happen to some people. Statistically speaking, it's going to be in there. Now, they're not going to remove your vote because you voted when you were alive. And in theory, if your vote is counted, it stays counted. You know why? Because most people, not this asshole and his family, but most of us vote with the future in mind. Most of us vote under the kind of premise that I hope this country stays the kind of place where my children are free to vote and my grandchildren can grow up in a way where there's a potential for them to live, right? So you vote not just for like, I'm going to get me some tax cut. You also vote for the continuation of democracy and those kind of things. So your vote has meaning beyond the fact that you're like, God damn it, I was going to use that tax break to buy a house.
We have a very corrupt, I never thought I'd be saying it, but we have, and I can say it very nicely because anybody, they don't ever want me to, they never take me on that. They just go with the big lie. They keep saying the big lie, but they never want to sort of, hey, sit down and let's talk. We'll go state by state.
Yeah, fact by fact.
Remember,
I'll do it. Ring me up, fucko. Let's go state by state. No notes. I'm good. I don't. He'd never do it, but I'd be glad to. Somebody needs to find me the, his campaign publicity thing. I'll do it. Fuck yeah, I'll do it.
For to debate anybody on the election. I didn't have one person.
No one took you up, huh?
I would get big.
I'll do it. I bet he was like, I didn't have one person of the 5 people like Pelosi or Biden or somebody like that who are busy actually doing a job they still have.
Big ratings.
Yeah.
I offered to debate any Democrat politician on the election of 2020.
Do they have to be I mean, if I run for office, does that count? Do I qualify?
Because they can't defend it. If you look at Arizona, all you have to do is look at the findings. And don't forget, I so-called lost by a whisker, just a little bit. And then they have...
You actually lost by more. Yeah. All the fraud is our Trump votes. All of it. Prove me wrong. He actually lost by a lot more. Every time they look, they find more Biden votes. They find more fake Trump votes. Or doubled Trump votes. So if past is prologue at all, and Occam's razor applies in all of these areas, the Republican-run states especially, where he alleges voter fraud, where if they do find any voter fraud, it will be to benefit Donald John Trump. And when it is looked at, they will throw out more votes of his. It happens every time they look. And it will happen again and again.
10,000 votes here, 30,000 votes here, all different ways, not just...
Right. You bought votes everywhere. You attempted fraud from the president's office while you were running the country, and you got your ass handed to you because you couldn't vote enough to cover the loss. Somebody told you didn't need to pay for it. That's the... Oh, sorry. 1 second. I have to put this up for 1 second. Somebody in his circle, it's true. Somebody in his circle told him all he needed was 2 million more votes. And so he took money, whatever money he hadn't spent on himself and his own properties. Yes, it's true. Spent that money on buying votes. And he bought votes everywhere in every state. And he was so pissed about the popular vote, they decided to do it in states they had control of. So he strong-armed Republicans in those states to give him some votes. Operatives, state, Senate state senators in a lot of these states to arrange for him to get fake votes added. Yes, it's true. And then ultimately, it wasn't enough.
Different findings.
So I offered to do a debate, public debate. Nobody took me on. So it's one of those things. They know.
Also, when the fuck did he say this? Did he release some sort of statement? I mean, he's mentioned it. He's speaking about it in past tense right now. Does anybody remember like him offering a big pay-per-view? Did we talk about this back in the day? It was fucking boring. Who cares?
Crooked. We have very crooked elections. We don't have a free press. We really don't have free speech anymore. It's very bad, very dangerous. These elections are going to be absolutely critical for this country.
John, I think we have an idea for a week of shows. Tackle a different state every night.
Yeah, let's do it.
Be very easy.
Let's see if we can get someone to come and debate you. We'll do it.
So easy.
Yeah, it is.
That would be.
Whoops, hold on. Hi, any more thoughts about dessert or like I know you definitely want some. With the two of you, obviously you're paying for it, so he will be having dessert. Yeah. Also, I have to make a correction. The chef gave me a new list. There's only, I'm sorry, we're very limited on ice cream tonight. So only one person can get 2 scoops. Right. Also, we have a special that we just added is that the waiter will gladly debate you on any topic you'd like to bring up, and mop the floor with you at no charge. Isn't that nice? Isn't that good? That's good stuff. What do you think?
That would be the easiest of all.
Hold on.
It would.
Whoops. Shit. They don't hold a shot for very long, do they? Look how small I am. Whee! There we go. If it's easy, I'll just do it then.
Thank you so much for your time. I know how busy you are.
Yeah, he's not busy. I'm here every day. He's not. He's always here. He wanders around this room. There's unless there's an interview going on, there is literally no furniture in here. And sometimes I'll hear his shoes, and I can always tell because the lifts make a special clacking sound, and the parquet flooring in here looks expensive, but it's very cheap. And we managed to salvage the runner line, or if you'll notice around the side, but the essential parquet, I mean, he gets it turned over every couple of years. He's got a friend. Anyways, it's not important. It's all Russian wood. It curls up. It's very funny. Never dance in here because you'll eat shit. But he
would always be with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right, folks, we're here in Mar-a-Lago with President Trump, America's 45th president.
Get me out of here. Ah! All right, sorry.